Oh, g'day. Keithy here, thanks for joining me. We've got the AeroGuard out at the moment. For whatever reason, you guys might know why you need to use AeroGuard at the moment. Summer's here, North Queensland, and the mozzies have just come out absolutely wild. We've had maybe a week since we had rain, but I think just that big rain stirred them up. But anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. I'm glad to have you here. This is about round 4 of me trying to record this video, and those crickets that you can hear in the background are the reason that this has taken the 4th time for me to actually record this. I've done it out the back, I've done it at different locations. It's just the season for the crickets to come out, so I do hope that they're not too loud that they overpower what I'm trying to say. So fingers crossed it's all good. Anyway, got a few things to talk to you guys about today. I really want to talk to you about, it's a little bit of a chilling with Keithy episode, if you will. I'm going to answer a few questions from the YouTube channel from you guys. A lot of the questions that I get over on Chilling with Keithy, if you go through Facebook, you can message me that way. They are private, so it's only you and me talking. And a lot of people sort of get in a little bit deeper than what you would normally see on the YouTube, so I'm not going to go through any of them. I actually asked a couple of people if they're okay with me sharing the situations and whatnot, and they said they didn't want that, so I respect that. Some of the other stuff we're going to talk about too. This old girl right here, so the last couple of videos that I've done, I wanted to clarify some things from the last 2 videos regarding the fuel consumption. I actually wanted to go through a little bit more of the data on the fuel consumption as well. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting video. We've got a bit of a Q&A, we've got all that kind of stuff, and the dog digging holes in front of us. So yeah, grab a beer, grab your grandma, go and talk to your long lost uncle overseas, and yeah, let's sit down and enjoy a video. Well, we couldn't go without checking this out.
Right, preparing it fires now. Great Keithy here.
Alrighty, boys and girls, so definitely I want to thank you for joining me here, and for all my subscribers too, down in that magic little location there. If you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to do it. If you don't want to, you don't want to, but it definitely helps me out, keeps me encouraged that you guys are interested in what you're seeing, and yeah, let's keep going. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to try and knock it over quick because this is going to take like 25 minutes if I don't. We'll go through the Q&A type stuff, so the questions or comments that I've got so far from you guys. So I'm only going to do a couple. I'm not going to do them all, obviously. I answer every one that I can. The first one is from Brent, and this was to do with the last video. So when I did the fuel consumption with gas and LPG, gas and petrol. Brent said he gave his numbers basically. So he said he's got 12.6 litres to the 100 on the highway in his Range Rover, and he gets about 16 litres to the 100 in the sort of urban city type run. Just shared his numbers, and that was reasonably interested. He did say that he was running completely stock tyres, and as you can see there, those 33-inch tyres are definitely not stock, which is why our numbers were different, but it's really good. I enjoy actually hearing your numbers and getting sort of a bit of feedback on how you go, or how a standard vehicle also goes, to somewhat remind me of the fuel consumption that I once had. Thanks for that, Brent. An unnamed subscriber to the channel has commented also on the previous video, asking about diesels and petrols, which one's better. Now, the reason I say unnamed is because his name was too hard for me to pronounce. It wasn't actually a name, it was like a, yeah, anyway. He's asked diesel, petrol, which one's better? And if you want my answer, I'm going to say they're both equally as good as each other. Petrols have got their merits. Diesels have also got theirs. You know, a petrol, you can generally run 15,000 Ks before you need to give it a service. Diesels, after 5,000 K, you're checking the oil and you think maybe it could do with a service. Then you come to the fuel consumption thing. As you've seen, you know, like around town, I'm in the 20 litres to the 100 mark at nearly 3 tonne, mind you. And a diesel might, at the same weight, be getting maybe 14 or 15 litres to the 100 around town. So there is a bit of a fuel consumption difference, but at the same time, long-term maintenance as well. You know, like I don't have to do glow plugs or anything like that at 100 and 150,000 Ks. I'm close to 300,000 Ks in this thing now, so go figure. But that was a good question. Thank you for that one. Gordon Wedman, I believe your last name is, sorry if I got that wrong, mate, has also commented and said that he plans to change the Sputnik. So if you had a look in, not the last video, but the second last video where I got the LPG system right, you would have noticed the Sputnik where my top radiator hose goes into the radiator. Just before that, there is a little It's like a T-piece, and I've tapped into that and I've put the temp sensor in there, and I can understand the risk that he's bringing up is that plastic, I've drilled into it and put something, plastic gets hot and expands, there's a potential for leak, and I could end up with a problem. I could end up with no coolant and bye-bye motor. That was definitely his concern, and he said that he's going to get a metal one for his next one. Basically, if he plans on drilling in it too, that's definitely a good idea. For now, that's definitely done me for 3 years so far. I haven't had a problem with it at all. It doesn't leak. And I should add that I've also got a sensor in the car for a low level in my coolant system. So I've got a bit of a plan B there as well, should something happen with that. So it was actually a little bit quieter, that plane, than I thought it was going to be. God bless. Last question I'm going to talk about now is also from the recent videos. Jim, Michael and Anthony all commented pretty much the same theme in their comments. Now this was on the video that I recorded over a year ago. I only released it 2 videos ago. It was me repairing the LPG system in this and getting it ready to use. First off, that video was recorded in 2021. We're in 2022 now. I recorded it, actually it was the last video that I recorded before my lovely brain tumour showed its face. So yeah, I mean that was going back quite some time. I really wanted to get it out because I was ready to start showing you the LPG and what it can do, and then go through all the data and stuff like that. But thanks boys for your comment, because you did comment that I was going around sniffing for a gas leak, which is one way of doing it. But really I could have just got a squirty gun with a bit of soapy water in it and sprayed that around, and the gas leak would have shown its face pretty quickly. Then it would have started bubbling up, just like you do with the air suspension when you've got leaks in that kind of system. And in hindsight, yeah, I could have done that. It probably would have been a bit easier to do as well. But you know, these things, at the time, that's what I did, that's what I had. I must have done it for a reason, because most definitely I have used the old soapy water trick in the past myself. But thank you to all 3 of you guys for reminding me that I'm a bit of a nugget sometimes, and I probably could have done it different. And if I do have any problems with the LPG system from here on in, leaks, etc., that's definitely a way that I will go about it. Alrighty, now that's the questions that I'll knock over for now. I won't get into the mining questions. I do get quite a lot of them, but I will keep them for another time, perhaps a separate video for the mining stuff. What I'd like to do now also is talk about the chainsaw videos that I did. So if you look up there, I did the first one I did with the Ryobi chainsaw. I cut down a few bits and pieces, talked about the saw being fantastic, and then I went to cut through this bit of wood, bit of timber, and I snuffed it a little bit. Took quite a long time, and I'd like to A, explain that, and B, apologise for that. So the first and only explanation for it is I done all of the cutting out in the yard. Like you can see above you here, there's so many trees, palm trees, all kinds of trees around, and I'd done quite a lot of cutting. I thought, oh, hey, maybe I can make a video about this. I just needed to sharpen the blade. There's no ifs, buts or maybes about it. If I'd sharpened it, I reckon that cut would have been a little bit quicker. So what did I do the next week after all the critics called me out and said, hey Keith, that's a pretty crappy little chainsaw? I sharpened it and I went and cut through it in about 3 seconds flat. That was just the case. That was my silly mistake. And honestly, I should have sharpened it and then re-recorded the cut there, but I didn't. Hence why I had to do the second video, which is up there. If you want to have a look at that, it's a very short one. It does the exact same cut. It's just with a sharper chain, which I should have done to begin with. So thanks for calling me out on that one, guys. Alrighty, what have we got next? Fuel data. So this stuff on the back here, I want to talk about this, and I'm going to go, if you watched the last video there on the fuel consumption series, gas was the winner. Yay for gas. It's cheaper. Yeah, it uses a little bit more, but it's still cheaper to run gas than it is to run petrol in this thing, especially around town. So I'll go through all of the numbers. If you have a look up there, I did a video series 2.5 years ago, maybe even more than that it was. It was actually, it was closer to 3 years ago. I did that series on fuel consumption and all of the various different stages that this car was in. So I took these tyres off and I actually put the standard 30-inch tyre, 18-inch wheels with 30-inch tyres on them. So they're still a little bit bigger than standard. I took the roof rack off. I put the spare wheel, I took that off. I took everything out of the back. You know, I got the car back to standard weight as close as I could with that, and obviously the LPG tank in the back, which was full. And then did the run. Then we did it with 33-inch tyres and the 2-inch lift. And then I did it with the weight. So I put everything back in the back of it and I chucked the roof rack back on. And then I did it with the thermo fan. So you would have seen it where I made the thermo fan. I took the engine driven fan off and made a setup that worked for the thermo fan to fit. And then we went out and did it again. And obviously the one that you saw recently was LPG versus petrol. So it was very similar conditions, obviously not the same. I couldn't replicate that. 3 years is a long time. So I made a separate track, and that's why I did gas versus petrol in the last video. That way they were under the same conditions. So that was about as close as I could get it. So we'll go through the numbers now a little more in detail than what I did in that video. So stock, completely standard, albeit with a little bit of weight from the gas tank and 30-inch tyres instead of 29-inch tyres. On the highway, we run at 14.49 litres per 100 with a 2-inch lift and the 33-inch tyres. Same conditions and same road, 14.48 litres per 100. So that is 0.01 litres per 100 better with these tyres on and the 2-inch suspension lift in the same highway conditions. I don't know why that is. The car was obviously sitting 2 inches higher, but the RPM was about 300 RPM lower. So we're sitting about 2,000 RPM at 100 k's an hour. So there's potential there for the difference. Either way, that was a win. Then we chucked the weight back in the car and we put the roof rack back on, solar panel on top, all of that kind of magic jazz. And then we went up to 15.09 litres per 100 on the highway. So that's just over half a litre, 0.6 of a litre per 100 kilometres increased. I think we can justify weight definitely being a factor in that one. Not only that, on the highway you're doing 100 k's an hour, a little bit of wind resistance happening with the old roof rack and the roof rack holders up there. And then I did the last test with the thermo fan, so engine fan out, thermo fan in, set up the controller, made sure it was effective, blah, blah, blah. And we did the same run up the highway, 15.07 litres per 100 kilometres. So that was really good. I actually enjoyed doing that test. And the difference there at 15.07 is actually 0.02 less fuel used on the highway than with the original belt-driven fan. So that's not too bad. It's thereabouts, much the same. I'm not going to call the difference because it can't be replicated. You know, one day it might be slightly higher, one day it might be slightly lower. It is that close. And then obviously we came to the most recent test. Now I blurred through that one as quick as I could in the last video. It was LPG versus petrol. So we went back out onto the highway to try and replicate it as close as we could. Real conditions, as you saw, I got stuck behind a truck, had to get past him, give him the old 4.6 litre berries, and we did. And that was a very good drive. We ended up with 15.81 litres per 100 kilometres on the petrol, and we ended up with 20.75 litres per 100 in the gas, in the LPG. So you might think, just looking at these numbers, it's about 5 litres per 100 worse on gas, 5 litres per 100 kilometres. So that's quite a lot of difference there. But if you sit back and you actually analyse the numbers and the fact, and the thing that I brought up quite a lot is that LPG is much, much cheaper than petrol to run. At the time, $1.25 for LPG and $1.85 or thereabouts for the petrol. I had to run 95 unleaded in this thing because it does have a high compression motor. So that obviously explains the difference. Petrol is, you need a lot less petrol to achieve the same outcome, whereas gas, you get more of a complete burn, but it doesn't have the same amount of energy per fire, so you need to use more of it to get the same kind of power output to maintain speed in the vehicle. And obviously we went through the numbers there. The difference on the highway, LPG was actually $4 per 100 kilometres cheaper to run. So LPG won out there, and that was fantastic. I really enjoyed doing the test on the highway. That's a good number. Now if we move over to the other side of the road and start doing the town run, we pulled up, had coffees, I pulled up at, I got a lunch as well. And we went to the beach, started the car, real world conditions there. So, if you didn't start the car, it wouldn't have been too real world because you will often drive to work. Your car stops while you're at work, you start it, you might go and get lunch, you stop it, you start it again, go back to work. In an average day or an average 100 kilometres in a vehicle, you're going to stop and start the car a number of times. So I did my best to replicate that, along with pulling up through drive-throughs and whatnot like that, getting stopped at traffic lights, doing a slow drive along the beach, you get the picture. So I tried to maintain that kind of scenario. For the earlier fuel consumption series, the one that I did 3 years ago, I did the similar conditions around town, but I don't think I actually stopped as much, or as in stopped and sat and smelt the roses. I definitely didn't go through a drive-through. So they were a little bit different, but at the same time we had the traffic lights, I did the beach, all of that kind of stuff. So it was close, but not the same. So I'll go through the numbers from stock, completely standard, 30-inch tyres and a snorkel, I guess, and an LPG tank that had a bit of weight in it. Around town we got 16.14 litres per 100. When we chucked the 2-inch lift and 33-inch tyres back onto it, that bumped up to 16.93, so that's about 0.6 litres per 100 kilometres around town. Worse. To be expected, obviously, because it takes a lot more energy to spin a 33-inch tyre than it does a 29-inch tyre. And 100% I can put it down to that, because I can tell you now, which you'll see in the next set of answers, wind resistance didn't play a part, and the suspension lift obviously didn't play a part in the around town run, because at the end of the day we didn't really get up to enough speed to get wind resistance. So I don't blame the wind, I blame purely on the tyres. Then for test 3 we did the run around town. We added the weight back in to put the drawers full of stuff back in, roof rack on. We ended up at 17.5 litres per 100. Getting worse, obviously. Why? We added weight. We had about 500 kilos. That's going to make a difference, isn't it? I think there's no other way to actually describe that one. Like I said before, the wind resistance didn't play a part around town. Then we moved on to test number 5 with the thermo fan on. So we got rid of the engine fan, put the thermo fan back on, same track, same run. And in that one, we actually dropped by 1.3 litres per 100. So that took us down to 16.8 litres per 100 around town, which is almost the same as this thing completely stock. Very impressive to be on LPG and get the numbers down with the big tyres and all that other stuff. I was amazed with that. And I mean, 1.3 litres per 100 is quite a lot. That was the thermo fan, sorry. If I said LPG, then disregard that. And then we got to the LPG. So the run that I just did on the last video that you've just seen, LPG versus petrol 95, 60 cents a litre different in the cost of fuel. To do the town run, it was 26.08 litres per 100 on gas. That's a load of fuel. That's petrol, gas. I keep saying petrol, sorry about that. It sounds very thirsty, and it is, but just remember the kind of driving that I put the car through. Stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, sit at a cafe, sit at a restaurant. I didn't make it easy. I did it purposely. I made it use more fuel than it needed to use. I didn't drive like a dickhead. I drove like a normal, average, everyday person, and that's to replicate exactly what you would likely do unless you're a rev head. So 26.08. The same run on petrol, 95. We did 24.7 litres per 100. So there's not even 2 litres, just over 1.3 litres per 100 kilometres better on fuel, on petrol. The difference in that, and you guys are going to need to grab a seat here, was about $15 per 100 kilometres. You're not. So to fill up the petrol tank on the same trip, when I filled up the gas tank, was $15 more. So to do that 100 Ks around town, I think it was something like $43 to do 100 Ks. And on petrol, it's around $30 to do the same distance, 100 Ks. I kid you not, 60 cents a litre different in the cost of fuel made all the difference there, because it was only just over a litre per 100 different in the actual fuel usage. But I was absolutely amazed by that. It shocked the living daylights out of me. So what did that tell me? Well, running LPG is definitely the way that I need to go with this thing, especially on that cost perspective. So 100 Ks at 15 bucks, 1,000 Ks at 150, 10,000 Ks, $1,500 difference in price. So that's the difference between an oil change, $1,500 difference. That more than pays for the oil it takes to change after doing the amount of kilometres. And not only that, if you've ever run LPG in a vehicle, you'll know that gas makes your engine run cleaner. So your spark plugs stay so much cleaner, they're more efficient. The downside to it though is, yes, your spark plugs wear quicker, but at the same time your ignition leads, they take a little bit longer to do their job. So sometimes, especially if you haven't got the gap right in your spark plugs, they can have a bit of a hard time trying to get the gas ignited. So you need to get that right. And I've had to reduce my gap down to about 7 millimeters on the spark plugs to make that all happen and get good quality leads. That's one of the big things that I found was, well, not good quality, I should say, new leads. So spark plug leads are something that get used so quickly when you're running on gas. So that's one thing to maintain. But at a set costing about $100 for just a Repco set of spark plug leads, I think that's well spent, even if you include the cost of an oil change at 10,000 Ks, which you're going to do in a diesel anyway. LPG is the way to go, guys. So if you've got a petrol motor with LPG, those numbers at 60 cents a litre different for the cost of gas versus petrol definitely makes gas an option. If you can get it where you are, I recommend it. I've had this gas the whole time I've had this car. Obviously I had problems, I had leaks that I needed to sort out. Got that sorted, and now, boys and girls, I'm saving myself 15 bucks every 100 Ks. That can go in a little fund, and you know what, I can buy Christmas presents for my daughter. I can do anything with that. It certainly makes life a little bit easier. So there is all of the raw data that I wanted to get out to you guys. Anyone with questions, you do the usual thing about the questions. I will certainly get back to you with any more data that you might like. So what I'm going to get through now, and thank you for watching. I know this has been a longer video than usual. I tried to get it out really quick. The next video was the video that I was hoping to do this week. Unfortunately got delayed because I'm waiting on freight, believe it or not. So I've got those lovely solar panels on the roof up here now, and I want to test them out, but the dual battery, not the dual battery, yeah, the battery charger, the projector charger that I run in the back of this thing actually packed it in. It was packed in for about 6 months, but unfortunately with all the cancer stuff I've had going on, I haven't had the chance to repair it and replace it. Now's the time, but it's already been over 2 weeks since I sent it away for the warranty job, because it was less than 2 years old and the warranty was a 2-year warranty. I'm still waiting to hear back from them, so who knows when they're going to call me. I might actually give them a bit of a chase up today, to be honest. So hoping the next video is going to be about solar panels and battery charging and whatnot. I'm really excited to get that one to you. I've also got an unboxing video that I want to do. Again, this is to do with four-wheel driving and camping, so stick around for that one. I am hanging out to do that one, honestly. I want to do that video, but I don't want to rush it. I'm not going to bomb you guys with it, so we'll get to that one in good time. That's all I've got for you today, but I wanted to say thanks very much for watching. Appreciate your time. Sorry it's a little bit late, guys. As I said, the weather conditions didn't really help me when I recorded the initial 3 versions of this video to try and avoid what was those bloody crickets making so much noise. And I hope that they haven't made the sound a little bit unbearable for this video as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and do all the magic stuff that happens down there, and I'll catch you in the next video.